Thanks, Jake. Let's call this regular meeting of the Marion County Board of Supervisors to order. Roll call, Mr. Grandia.
Keisha Johnner,
Here.
Mark Ramey,
Here.
Steve McCombs.
Here.
Very good. I would entertain a motion on this morning's agenda.
Make motion to approve today's agenda.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Communications, Jake.
We have three, you have three different communications, two from Knoxville Township and one from Indiana Township.
Very good. Board. Steve,
No, I have none.
Keisha? No. All right, and none for me. Very good. Thank you. Public comments. This is the portion of our agenda the public can speak on items not listed on this morning's agenda. Board cannot act on those items, but they could be topics for future meetings. Are there any public comments on items not listed on this morning's agenda? Anything online? Anything in the room? Seeing none. Consent agenda. Is there a motion this morning?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I would just like to note, there was a corrected claim in Department 4.
Yes, thank you. Has that been corrected in this,
It will-
Jake? Or do we
we'll-
need to
we gotta
approve
take-
as
We'll get it
amended?
taken care of.
Okay, okay, got it. Thank you.
I will second that.
Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
All right, very good. Thank you. First item, we've got, is Sarah on? All right. And I always forget Sarah's last name. All right, we have Sarah Bradshaw from Holmes Murphy online. And this kind of kicks off our budget discussions. Again, nothing really deep today, but I asked Sarah to come on and give us just a really quick overview. She's provided the board with a pre-renewal packet to maybe cover one or two key points as we start to digest this information going into budget. So Sarah, thank you for coming on.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
I can, thank you. So if you don't mind, Sarah, just if you could give us kind of the high points of the packet here, and then if the board has any questions, they can direct those. Again, this is just the beginning, so we don't have a rate increase number yet from Wellmark. Is that correct?
That is correct. So as we spoke a couple of weeks ago, we are looking at a little bit higher utilization again going into next year's renewal. So we do project an increase from Wellmark again next year. Today, wanted to just provide a quick overview on how we are projecting costs for the current year to end up following our open enrollment period.
Very good. Thanks, Sarah. All right, go ahead. And I think we have a slide that we wanted to focus on. So please proceed.
Yeah, so appreciate you having me on today. Just wanted to provide a short update on the information following open enrollment. So during our previous open enrollment, which occurred just this past summer, we really wanted to focus on education around choosing the plan that is right for each individual. And we did this through providing some plan comparison examples, as well as talking through the various network options that you provide with your 3 health plans. And as a result of this education, we really did see that employees took a step back and evaluated how best to spend their dollars. So as a result of the choices that individuals made for their plan selections during open enrollment, we saw a decrease to the original projected costs for both employees and Marion County. So from the employee standpoint, if you'll recall, we were going into this last renewal with just over a 10.4% increase overall from Wellmark. Marion County chose to absorb a majority of that increase while passing on a projected 5% increase in premiums to the employees. That was anticipated to result in about a $20,500 increase to the employees. However, because of the plan selections that the individuals made, employee contributions are actually set to decrease by about 7.5% overall, while the overall enrollment count remains stable.
Very good. Very good.
And then when looking at Marion County, we had projected 11.7% increase there, just under 200,000. Again, because of the choices that the employees made, selecting plans that might be better suited for them, we saw just an 8.2% increase, around 137,500.
Very good. Sarah, if you don't, in terms of the choices that employees made just for the board, and we've got some of our department heads both here and listening, how many people are on the HSA plan now? What's the change year over year?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you brought that point up. So we headed into open enrollment with 10 employees enrolled in the high deductible health plan. We came out of open enrollment with 26 enrolled in the high deductible. So individuals really took that education, looked at their own individual situation, looked at the potential for saving on tax dollars and for future healthcare expenses, and migrated into that plan.
The other change the board made last year was to increase the cost differential between the PPO and the HMO plans. Any idea what the conversion rate from going from PPO to HMO was?
Yeah, so overall, we had 17 employees leave the PPO plan, the 1,000 PPO plan. Migration into the point of service plan, it did increase by 6 employees. So we had just 10 go into the high deductible, 6 go into that point of service or HMO plan, and then we lost only 1 contract overall.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. Anything else you want to highlight right now, Sarah? I know it's early. We'll have a lot to digest as Wellmark comes in with a rate. Can you give us a ballpark? What's your thought right now, just based on what our utilization is, loss ratio, those things? What are we thinking about?
Yeah, so we are looking at likely a 10% increase again this year from Wellmark if we stick with the same plan designs that we have now. Our utilization, as we talked earlier, is still high, although it is starting to trend back down a little bit. We just had some higher claims coming through, and looks fairly similar to our experience last year.
Okay, very good. Steve, Keisha, any questions? Again, this is real high level preliminary stuff, but do you have anything you'd like to ask Sarah?
Appreciate the, explaining to us, Sarah. It is kind of difficult. I will say, when we talk about budgets and stuff, and then, we have to wait to know, and that's government side of things, nothing to do with you, but I wish sometimes we could change a little bit of that, but when we have to set our budget, and knowing, for everybody to start, we're doing their worksheets. So,
Yeah, Steve?
No, the numbers that that anticipated numbers look pretty good. But you're talking that Wellmark may be in the range of 10%. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for the info, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think I'll highlight just one more thing. Again, I'm just reiterating what Sarah said, but when you see that slide, I think from a board standpoint, it does show directionally some very positive choices that the board has made to control costs, and that our employees have made in partnership with us to help control those costs. So our plans from an education standpoint, Lisa and Renee doing a great job educating our folks on the high deductible plan, what that is. And I think that those trends are good from that standpoint, so we can maintain a very high quality plan, but still control those overall cost structures. I think that's very positive across the line. So
one quick question: when do we expect the final numbers to come in? Is that right after the first of the year, or?
I don't think she can hear. Sarah, did you hear the question?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
So I would anticipate getting your renewal the early part of January. And then we'll take a week or so to evaluate and we'll get in front of Mark and his team late January.
and Jake, when do we send out budget worksheets?
Hopefully the end of this week.
So maybe what we do is we start off with 10% in the health bucket, just to get it kicked off. Sarah, that wouldn't be unreasonable.
That would not be unreasonable, no.
I mean, we're not going to get a sticker shock to the 15, like have a 15% on it or a 5. Now, if we got a 5, I'm going to be really happy, but I don't think we're going to go that
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, I think a soft place to land on this one for just ballpark projections would be around that 10.
Okay. So maybe we could start there, and then if we have to adjust, we adjust based on the renewal. Very good. Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Okay, Steve?
No.
Okay. Sarah, thank you very much for giving us that overview. I sure appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everybody.
All right, you too. Thank you. With that, I would entertain a motion to close discussion on this item.
Make motion to close discussion.
Second,
McCombs,
aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye, very good. Thank you. Next, Kelly. Good morning. We wanted to talk some legislative priorities. This is a discussion for the board. No real order here, but I think you probably came with a little overview, what's going on at the legislature and what we can look forward to. So Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thanks. So as y'all know, the elections are over and we have a Republican trifecta at the State House. We have super majorities in both the Senate and the House. Republicans are 64-36 in the House and 34-16 in the Senate. And that's important because the governor will be able to get through any of her appointments now without worrying about objections from the Democrats in the Senate. The governor has made pretty clear in the media some of her priorities include school choice or vouchers. There's a debate on what that is. Tort reform and abortion/adoption issues. Focus on abortion, I guess. And the committee chairs are now out. There's been a little bit of change, but a lot of the prior committee chairs remain the same. There's a big turnover in this last election. So, some of those are new faces as far as vice chairs go. Our representatives here, Brooke Bowden is now the government oversight chair. And then Barb Kniff McCullough, she will be the vice chair of Ways and Means, which brings us to some percolating issues I've heard, which has been in the media as well, that the Senate in particular wants to take a stab at property tax reform this year. Had some discussions with Senator Dawson. He's the chair of the Ways and Means Committee. I've had 2 or 3 discussions with him actually, and told him, be cautious about our rural counties, and communicated with him that I would make you guys available to talk if he wants to, see it from a perspective of a rural conservative county, to just make you all available to have those discussions. And I think it'll be a good asset if any bill gets over into the House from the Senate, that you have great representation, and Barb Kniff McCullough is being vice chair there in the House. So you'll be represented well there as far as, how that will impact Marion County.
Kelly, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
This is a topic near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea directionally what they're talking about for property tax reform? Are there any ideas floating out there we need to be aware of at the front end of this?
So they're keeping that pretty close to their vest. I've poked and said, oh, come on, tell me what you're thinking. And I was just told that they're running different scenarios with their staff. So a little behind the scenes, if you pull the curtain back at the Capitol, they have staffers, many of which are attorneys who have been there for a long time, that have been consistent on those particular committees that they staff. And so there is a Senate staffer in Ways and Means that has been around as long as I have, was there for the last property tax reform bill. And I think they're working through different scenarios. I know probably a burr under the saddle, some counties that do a different budgetary process than what maybe you all do. Like, I think there's some philosophical differences on, do you look at your revenue that's coming in and then set your budget that way? Or do you say, okay, this is how we're going to spend, and then we're going to set our budget. So, I mean, how that interplays and the tweaks and the dials that they move on property tax, we don't know what that is yet. And I anticipate they'll keep that pretty close to the vest until we're halfway or 3/4 of the way through session, because that's when they start doing their budgeting and all these Ways and Means bills. They do all the policy in the front half of the session, and then they get to appropriations. I would say the last 30 days really is when they really go hard on appropriations and budgetary kind of things.
Okay.
And they'll wait to see what the REC says in March. That's always a given as far as, moving forward on tax issues.
Okay.
So that's what I anticipate on property tax. I mean, it's a big question mark. I wish I had more information, but that's why I'm going to be up there trying to gather as much information, real time as I can, and have these conversations prior to. And I've, enlightened Senator Dawson about some struggles that the county has, and some, the small perspective of the small county. So
Right.
keeping that in his ear.
Right. No, I appreciate that. I think, and if he wants to chat at all about that,
I
I
have
would
told him that.
certainly love to have that conversation. I'll give you my biggest overarching concern. You can take this to them and talk to it,
Mhm.
is that there has been a great deal of concern among our taxpayers and among this board as to how assessments and assessed values have increased so significantly over the past several years. We do know the drivers of that. And the drivers of that are cheap interest and cheap money. With the Fed doing what they have done now, the fastest increase in the Fed funds rate in history, and they are going to raise it again, probably on tomorrow or Thursday. Money now will cost something. The cost of capital will go up, the cost of borrowing will go up. That is going to have an effect on valuation. It is going to bring it down. The coasts are already seeing that. Iowa will be on the lag. So I hope they don't react in arrears to something. I hope they look at it from a prospective view on where the economy is heading now that we've got a strong Fed chair who wants to hold the line, and then whoever takes over in 24 in the White House, because that will have a significant impact on the direction of valuations just because of assets.
And I
So-
spoke to him a little bit about how the valuations have driven up the property tax, and how you all sort of take the brunt of that, and how the dials are sort of locked in for you all, that if you scale down under 350, then you put your supplemental at risk, and
Yeah.
how that funds your health insurance. And so you're really boxed in, and the public's upset, but your hands are tied as to what else you can do. So I told him to consider some things like that.
Perfect. No, I appreciate it. Yeah. Let us know how we can help.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm working on the treasurer's fees bill that was alive last year. I've had conversations. Jane Bloomingdale is willing to run the bill again this year. I went directly to Dawson. This is how the property tax thing kind of came up, and said, hey, I've got this treasurer's bill. I really want you to consider running it. It's important for my county. And there hasn't been an increase in 30 years. And he's like, yeah, well, we're having this property tax bill, and maybe we'll do something with that in that same bill. And I was like, I don't know about that. So, so I'm still having those conversations, but we may have a different form that passes the House, but the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to keep working at that.
Okay.
We'll also be monitoring mental health. The state took that over. If they try to tweak any of that, we'll be monitoring that as well.
Okay.
And that's what I have down for right now.
Very good. I appreciate that, board, and we've got several of our other electeds here. Are there any priorities, anything that you want to raise to Kelly's attention that she should be aware of particular interest? Carla,
Yes.
yeah.
Can you use the mic, Carla?
Yeah, good. Good. Sorry about that, Carla. We should have a roving mic person.
A couple of the issues that our lobbyists and organizations are going to keep watch on is always TIF. There's always challenges to TIF, it seems like, and that's one of the local tools that we have for economic development. So that's something to definitely monitor. The other one is, I don't know whether we've heard that it's not going anywhere, but the movement to have statewide control of the loss tax.
Okay.
That hopefully is not going anywhere, but that would be certainly of issue to our county and our local communities if there was a grab for the state to get that money versus the local communities. 260E and F are important for our employers. So those fundings of those training programs are very key for our employers that are adding jobs, needing to retrain their employees. And there should be a new bill coming out or a new ask coming out through Empower Rural Iowa. That is a program for communities and businesses in growth stages. So the Lieutenant Governor has been working with the Empower Iowa Task Force to develop that. I think it's going to be called Boost is the name of it. Other than that, there should be more housing and childcare stuff, but those are just things to always also for our businesses to keep monitoring.
Okay, very good,
Absolutely.
Carla. Thank you. Anybody else? Steve, Keisha.
Glad that Carla spoke up. I was going to add economic development. So if you could.
Steve?
No, yeah, I'm really keen on the property tax also reform. I'm curious to see where that's going to go, Kelly.
Yeah, every county will be.
Thank you.
Online, the merge of public health.
Who's up?
Is this from Kim? Okay,
Yes.
Kim has no voice today either, so she is typing.
The
So-
merge
No.
of public health and DHS. The last table of organization I saw had over 800 state level open positions. I don't see how that is sustainable. Further, the centralization toward Des Moines and move to private nonprofits.
Okay. So I'm gonna, Kelly, you probably are aware of what happened with our local public health department.
Yeah, I've heard about the lost
So-
grant funding.
Right. So we go through this bidding process that has now been shifted to an organization in Ottumwa, a nonprofit. I think, and Kim and I have had a lot of discussions, is that there seems to be a push to centralize public health at the state level, much like they've done mental health. So very much a similar set. I think our concern is all of these services that we have done for 20 years and done them very well. We no longer have the funding to be able to do them, and they've been shifted to another organization. So what will the future direction of public health be within the state? And there's not good clarity from the state to us on that. It's been a very confused issue where we've had we've lost now half of our public health department. Close. So something that 20 years ago, this board and the people who were on it built a structure to really be a regional public health entity to help take care of Southern Iowa through contract management is now gone. And it's been offloaded to a nonprofit. Well, if it works the way mental health has worked, that's not a good solution at the end of the day. So we're concerned and we need some more guidance from the state on where they're headed and more clarity.
Okay, so I think I was on that board meeting on the Zoom the day that Kim spoke about that. And so I looked into it a little bit. And I went on to what I looked into was the bill you talked about, which was the HHS bill. I think it was 2578.
I know which one you're talking about. I don't remember the
okay.
number.
So I was like, all right, I remember reading that HHS bill. And basically what that did was set up this new Health and Human Services Department, which will merge the two, and then told them that they had to have a transition plan, if you will, by September of this year. So I did go on and pull that transition plan. So I can give that to you and maybe Kim will find that helpful. And if we have any further questions from there, we can go from there. I mean, Kim Reynolds and Kelly Garcia have been very clear for the last 2+ years that they were going to do this and merge these two departments. I think they see duplicative, well, start first from the high point is, Governor Reynolds and the Republicans have always been like, let's not have duplicative people and services and shrink the government and pay less for that. And so I think that was part of the root of why they were doing that. Kelly Garcia comes from a state, it's my understanding anyway, that that's how it was done in Texas.
That's how, that's
Yeah.
EDI.
Yeah. And so maybe we'll see that that's akin to what's going on in this. I haven't read this fully, but this is the plan that was put out September 30th of this year. So it might give some information and like answer some of Kim's questions.
So I appreciate that. And one of the things that we would, at least what we've seen so far, when she talks about the organizational chart, because that was one of the things she put in that message, is that we get that both the governor and Director Garcia are looking at efficiencies, cost
Exactly.
reductions. Right now, those cost reductions seem to be at our expense, and that the hiring is going on at the state level. So there are a lot of postings in public health, in DHS at the state level. So to us, and this is just, again, without having a conversation, it looks like cost shifting. So we're going to move those jobs to Polk County. We're going to take those jobs away from us.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what did you really save at the end of the day? That would be an interesting discussion to have. And how will our residents be served by people in Des Moines who don't come here? How does that happen? So. Rachel, are you on?
Yeah. Hi, I just had a question, or not a question, but if any information, Kelly, that you're able to glean on the 600+ page bill that the HHS is working on, that they're also keeping, pretty close. And then also any rumblings that you might hear about mental health regions aligning with judicial districts and kind of a movement to make mental health regions bigger.
Okay, so when you talk about the HHS bill, are you talking about federal or state? Because we don't typically have 600-page HHS
State.
the state.
Yeah, so my understanding is currently, so the new entity, the merged IDPH and DHS is Iowa HHS, that they are working on a large bill that they're telling us is a lot of code rewrites related to the merger. But I'm interested to see what gets snuck in there, I guess, is my fear.
Sure, no problem. Well, when I see it, I'll be sure to send it to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. Very good. Well, you can see we have a few items on our list. Any other issues for any of our folks? Tyler, you good? Okay. Counselor?
We do.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Good. Board, anything else?
No, I think her plate's full.
I think so. I think so. Kelly, anything you'd like to close with?
No,
Okay.
I think we're good.
All right.
Getting revved up to go back to session.
Very good. Kelly, thanks for the update.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much. With that, I would entertain a motion to close discussion on this item.
Make motion to close discussion.
Second. Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
McComb. Aye.
All right. Next item, we have third floor of the courthouse. We have a remodeling project. Ed, I think is that you or is that Chris? Okay.
Come up or stay in the back. As you folks recall, when we did the remodel of the elevator project at the courthouse, and I know Mr. McCombs was very involved in the ongoing work that was done. We created a courtroom that allowed us to conduct business without interruptions during COVID. The primary motivator of that was that we had a Class 8 felony trial that we were going to try, state of Iowa versus Michelle Boat, and did not want to try that case at the Marion County Fairgrounds or potentially get bumped to another county. And so we did some things to make our courtroom COVID compliant, or to minimize exposure to COVID. At the same time, there were some things that we did that were not necessarily, I think, as apparent to the public, and that was ensuring that our courtroom moving forward was handicapped accessible. There had long been problems that if you had a person who was in a wheelchair, their ability to serve was very difficult as a juror. They would be more or less on the outside looking in. We had a very defined jury box. Additionally, and most importantly, and something that did play a role in a trial prior to me becoming county attorney, was that we had a railing that separated the gallery from the internal bowl of the courtroom. And if you were a witness, there was no ability to get a wheelchair up and allow that person to testify consistently with other individuals. So we did that. When we did that with the understanding that at some point we would be coming back here saying COVID is over. I think we believe to some extent that may be true, and looking at ways to put it back. Our original idea, and Chris, maybe it was more my idea than Chris's, was to try to keep the jury where it currently is, which is kind of where the public used to sit, and put some type of railing and glass up. And Chris talked with some contractors, and that was about $250,000 project to do such a thing. And we quickly realized that wasn't what was going to occur. So Chris and I have been meeting. As you recall, one of the other things that took place was we installed technology. And so we are now in the project of trying to put things back the way they were, with the same time realizing that we have cameras in certain locations and disconnects and wires and all things that need to be done. Chris and I have been talking with the judicial branch about timing issues. And after speaking with some of the parties that be at court administration, traditionally the least busy time of year is between Christmas and New Year's. There is just not a whole lot of court that takes place during that time. We coordinated with court administration, making sure that was okay for us not to have court that week. And then at the same time, looking at what Chris's guys get done in the time frame that they could get it done in, those matched up. So we are going to hopefully move ahead with that project. Costs are very minimal. I think clearly less than $5,000. And that will come out of my budget, which is, we have funding to do it. So no additional cost. We'll use collection funds to pay for that. So it's not even taxpayer dollars. And we'll get this thing moving. Chris, did I leave anything out, or?
No, I think you got her, Ed.
Okay, so that's the plan.
Okay. All right.
Oh, Ed?
Board
Yes,
question,
sir.
Steve?
Is the state asking for this, or?
We have received some feedback that I wouldn't say they're asking for it, because they aren't making demands of us. There has been some feedback that I've received that it's probably time to put the jury back in a jury box rather than in the gallery, for lack of a better word. So
The only thing that, what happens if we have another pandemic? Then what do we do? Are we looking at this so it can be like a mobile thing? No?
well, we've talked about some of the things that we're doing we are making it look appropriately official, but at the same time being mindful to learn from what we've learned from in the past. So we're not making huge structural changes of any kind. We are going to they are going to build kind of an elevated platform. So we have 2 levels for jurors to sit on, so that we have line of
That's the only
sight.
thing my concerns, Ed, is, how do we attack every different thing that comes along, keep remodeling every time something new comes along, but.
Well, I'm hopeful that in my lifetime, we've only had one pandemic, and that's all we're going to have. But I am mindful of the fact that we have done some things A perfect example of that will be the viewing room. That has been incredibly successful. I think it has minimized noise on the second and third floor overwhelmingly by putting folks in one central location. It's filled up, it's really expedited the way in which attorneys are able to meet with their clients, and then we call them up for court. So we don't have 30 people sitting in a room. So even some of the things that we've taken from our experiences with COVID, you were, very influential and involved in the creation of the small courtroom. I'd love to tell you we've used that a lot. We haven't as anticipated, but it's there and we have
Yeah,
the-
it's there if it's needed.
if it's needed. And we have been able to, and one of the things that we talked about with Chairman Ramey when we had our courthouse security meeting is perhaps putting a camera in that viewing area as well at the request of some of the clerks about some behavior. But at this point, quite candidly, we were anticipating a trial in early January. That trial, if you had saw, pled out last week. So our next major trial now, and I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I believe starts the second or third week of January, which will be a jury trial. And so we are optimistic that we're at the mercy. I'm certain Chris's guys are ready to go. It's getting CTI, which is the computer electronic video conferencing, to be able to come down, disconnect the stuff so we can move it and then put it back together.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, and if it's going to be more user friendly, like, you suggest for handicap and everything, and I'm appreciative that we're not asking the taxpayers to foot the bill.
And I think that there are some people, and we will still continue, just to be clear, to allow for people to watch trials from the viewing room. In fact, a member, or at least a member of the media indicated that it was a much better place to watch a trial from. You could get up, stretch your legs, you could type on a computer if you wanted to, those type of things versus being in the courtroom. But we are mindful that there are people that want to be back in the courtroom. And so in an attempt to be as transparent and public as possible, that's the motivation as well.
Very good. Appreciate it. Keisha.
Yep, I just have one quick question, Ed.
Sure.
In the House File 2579, I just didn't know if this helped you at all, and regarding, effective July 1st, 2023, and regarding the county, if the county expends money for renovation or construction of suitable courtrooms, office, and physical facilities, requires the purchase of furnishings, supplies, equipment. I can read it on, but it talks about that the state shall be responsible for only 75% of the cost of the purchase. Would this?
At this point, we are not making any substantial purchases. We're going to use the chairs that we already have. So
Okay.
from 2573, we're not using outside vendors. And I don't want to get into an issue of the state getting to choose who gets to work in our courthouse. So for less than $5,000 from that perspective, I don't believe it benefits us, and I don't want to wait till July 1st to do the project.
No, appreciate it. No, that's good. Ed, thank you. Thank you very much. No further questions on that? Closed discussion. Is there a motion?
I move we close discussion.
A second.
Ramey,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
All right, very good. Next, Pleasantville, an update. Mr. Merstick, how are you doing this morning? I'm doing well. Thanks for coming. So I asked Joe to come and graciously giving his time this morning, really to give the board an update on where we're at with this project. Maybe, get Joe a mic or. So from Joe, I'll let you just lead it off and I'll fill in my end of it, but kind of where we're at in the agreement process and where you're at in some of the things that Pleasantville is working on right now.
Sure. Start off with just kind of giving an overview of the project. The engineers have completed their site plan for the infrastructure. That's finalized. We anticipate that being approved by the city council on the 20th of December, and bid letting will be shortly after that. We've worked on a developers agreement kind of back and forth as far as how we structure this as far as a TIF and what the commitments are with the developer, the city, and the county. And I think we've got a pretty good handle on that. We anticipate being on target with the bids, but it's kind of open-ended at this point, and I know that we just don't know what that amount's gonna be, but we don't anticipate any drastic changes on that. So as far as dollars and cents, we're hopefully gonna be on target with that amount. And I think we got a good plan in place. Mark, I guess I'll turn it over to you as
Yep.
far as the TIF part.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But one of the things that Joe and I have been working through with respective counsel and Michael Maloney working at DA Davidson is initially in the agreement, we had in that the county would receive 100% of the TIF dollars on the project. Given the size of the project and Joe, I mean, just from a budgetary perspective for Pleasantville, I'm thinking about maybe working that a little bit in a different way where maybe it's more of a 70-30, 60-40 split on TIF. Our initial goal will be just to cover our interest costs. And I think that's really what I'll try to aim for when we get an agreement finalized and present to the board. And what you have in your packet is a table that Michael put together over the course of the bond duration, and then what those interest costs would be. Asterisk here, interest costs have gone up a lot from when we did both Prairie Ridge and the VA. And now we're conservatively estimating about 5.3%. So it's a significant change, which is why and Joe and I have talked about this, I do want to be able to cover that interest cost so that we're not having to reach in to continue to fund the project and pay for the interest piece of this. As the project builds momentum over the duration, then principal will be able to be paid off as well. And we can go from there. But that's what you have in your packet, is that for your really to digest when we get a final agreement put together, and we haven't worked that completely out yet. I'll present a final agreement to the board, and Joe and I will then we have discussion on how we want to approach that piece. Otherwise, it follows form with Prairie Ridge and the VA. There's really no difference in the agreement structures other than that component. So
the 70-30 is the same. It's not, I mean, in Prairie Ridge and the VA, it's 100%, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so why the difference? Just
to allow for more revenue to Pleasantville so they could do more infrastructure. Just because of budget. Knoxville and Pella have more money.
are we still looking at roughly 2.3 million?
But we'll have final numbers on that when we get the final agreement, and Michael puts together a final chart of the financial structure. Okay. Joe, anything you want to add to that?
Nope, I don't. Thank you.
We'll try to work through the final details of this and get an agreement to the board for discussion and approval here in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you for your
So-
time. We'll keep you posted on our end.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Board, any questions or discussion on this?
No, other than I just wondering on the 70-30, are we setting a precedence at all if we go that direction?
No.
Are we going to be upsetting, even though they're larger, cities? Are we gonna, that would be the only thing that would cross my mind.
Yeah, I don't see where we would. We've got 100 in the other agreements and we didn't set a precedent there. It's up to us to negotiate. It's not even 70-30. That's not even the final number. That's just a for instance. So it could be 60-40 if that works for us to be able to cover our costs and gives Pleasantville access to some additional cash. So we'll get that final number, but I don't see that as being an issue. Steve, anything on your end?
Yeah, Joe, have we received any like commercial interest development there? Or I know I don't need anything specific, but
You sat down too soon, Joe.
I'm so sorry. So, we should have the final site plan from the engineer of the developer, later this week. So he is going to take, a larger footprint than what he anticipated, maybe a lot or two more, for his area, because he's actually grown more than what we anticipated when we submitted for the RISE grant. So that's good news. He's created more jobs than what we even thought of. there'll be more lots available. We do have some interest from a large employer of the state of Iowa for warehousing. But I can't disclose who that is.
Right.
And what stages we're in, but we are having some good.
Yeah, I'm not asking for specifics. I'm just, we do have that interest out there.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, and that's not only the industrial part, but there'll be some more commercial lots available too. And I think the commercial lots, depending on the lot sizes and stuff, will depend on what we get in there for the commercial part too.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
And then, Joe, I know you've had good discussions with Carla and some of her group that have come through the consulting group on some of those items. So Carla, anything you want to add to that or?
Not at this time. No, but we've had a lot of good discussions and I think there's a lot of opportunity there. So no.
Okay,
nothing at
very
this
good.
point.
Thank you. Joe, thank you. Very good. Well, more to come, TBD on this. Is there a motion to close discussion?
I move we close discussion.
A second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye, very good. Thank you. Next item, a FY24 budget discussion. And we went around about how to word this in the agenda, but it's very preliminary. So I think it's an opportunity for everybody just to kind of start to think about timelines. So Jake, I'm going to put you on the spot first. Maybe give everybody an idea on budget worksheets and when we have to have submissions and all that good stuff.
Status of budget worksheets, or we haven't sent anything out yet. We'd like to do that soon. We are kind of ready to get rolling that. I think about just get that process started. It takes us a couple months to do that. So whenever you guys are ready, we can create those worksheets and get them sent out. Just preliminary in my head. We were, if we can get them out by the end of this week, maybe ask for them back at the end of the first week of January or possibly the middle of the second. In there gives us a week or two to input what everybody's requested and get you the summary sheets. And then it's up to you guys how you want to proceed. If you want to have the individual update meetings again, or just talk to departments directly. Generally what happens is I leave the levies exactly as they are. Just plop those in. So as you guys were discussing earlier, the general fund has been at 350 for years. You have not exceeded your general fund. The county has not. The supplemental, we generally leave it where it was last year. Last year, I believe you guys decreased it 20 cents.
Yep.
20 cents.
Yep.
There is no mental health fund levy, and the general supplemental levy. That's the one you decreased. No mental health levy, and then debt service is just what it needs to be. We'll have to build in, the city of Pella did certified debt on the Prairie Ridge residential and commercial projects. I guess the only one that county would be involved in there is the residential one. So if there's going to be any incremental revenue, then we'll back that out of the debt service levy. So haven't got that project. That valuation project is due the 31st of this month. So I don't know exactly how much increment is there yet, but
Okay.
that will back off. So really your flexibility, those are your levies. And we use the same amount with the new valuations. I don't have that project completely done yet on getting the final taxable values for each of the districts. But, when I did a rough calculation, it looked like there was about a 3% growth of the taxable valuations, which is very common and very normal for Marion County. So yeah, from a timeline, if we can get going on that and get those back first part of January, get them entered, you guys can start rolling. We do have auditors the week of January 30th for that entire week. That's always a big week for Michaela and I. But if you want to do individual meetings, if you want to start scheduling before and after that, get it going so we can have this put to bed by the end of March.
End of March.
That's a pretty broad.
It is. It is.
I don't have a lot of details, but it's pretty typical growth, just like last year.
Yeah, no real changes from what we've done in the past. We will put together more of a formal timeline and
Yeah,
as you get some of those things done on your end, you're kind of the kickoff from that standpoint, Jake, and we'll look forward to that.
the 2-tier rollback on the commercial industrial has been a real challenge for, challenge for programming, and for the vendors to get that ready to go. So business property tax credit went away, and commercial industrial are the first 150,000 on any of those properties get a residential rollback, and then it drops to the 90 or increases to the 90% after that. So that took quite a bit of programming.
Mhm. Okay.
Not on mine.
Okay.
We've just been waiting.
Very good. All right. Very good. Any questions on that? Again, we're at the very early stages
Yeah.
of what we've got.
Yeah, I just was wanting to know as a board if we wanted to kind of discuss, since the worksheets are going out, how we would, what we're looking at in regards to attempting like salary increases, how we want to even look at that. How, we've done it various ways in the past. And so when they do the worksheets, to give them, I'm trying to look at helping the electeds and the department heads to know the direction in which to go as a board, so that we do not have all over the place, or maybe a morale issue. We had comp board meeting this past week, and we haven't got that those minutes yet. And but those, I'm assuming, will probably be coming within the next couple weeks to maybe a month.
Yeah, I'm assuming Todd will send them over when he has them. I believe that there was action taken. We just do not have the official minutes.
Right. So, once we get those, but remind again that that's a recommendation to us. Though that's stated in the code 6 different times in there, that it's a recommendation, and how we proceed with that. So, yeah, I guess I wanted to maybe have an open discussion.
Steve, anything on that?
No, I'd like to have some discussion on that too, but I really don't know what direction we're going yet with it, without knowing what the comp board recommendation was.
Okay.
As far as pay raises,
Well, what would you like to discuss?
Well, I agree with Keisha that it would be helpful to the department heads, if we could, so they had a direction.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I don't know what direction that is, that without knowing all the other numbers.
Yeah, I think when I look at this, I look at, a couple different ways. We have currently our salaries is roughly 9.6 million. Our new growth in the general fund right now is it's 210,000, but that does not include utilities and TIF yet. And it could be a little higher. So we don't have a lot of room in my mind, for growth, but it is comparable to what we have had in the past. I know that in the past, when we did just 5%, it didn't seem to go well. So that's why I wanted to have this discussion, whether, we were looking at having them, do a bucket, or whether we were wanting to give them maybe the direction of your general fund levy not to exceed a certain percentage.
Jake, do those numbers conform to what you're seeing?
So all I had was that very preliminary report that showed about a 3% growth. And that's gonna give or take due to the TIF and those types of things. So, at $3.50, with the growth of, like, let's say rounded it to 60 million, that's about a couple $100,000 of new money at $3.50. If that's what you mean.
Right,
That would be general fund only, not general supplemental or debt service, that type of.
right. So just general fund dollars
At 350.
at 350, at
growth
60
rate.
million, it's about 200 and some odd thousand.
Mhm.
Okay. Of what we would call new.
Yeah,
revenue.
because there's always different revenues, come and go, those types of things, but that would be the cash dollars.
Right.
If you would use the full 350.
Right. Very good. Well, I think it's important to set the stage, absolutely. Until I see the expenses and more detail, I really can't give, other than a Kentucky windage shot in the dark number, and I'm not ready to do that. Certainly don't want it to go like it did last year. I think we want to have a better approach. We're going to have a better approach this year to it. So, but yeah, until I get more specific information from Jake, when he gets some of the things done he's working on, I really don't know where I'm at on that. But
Yeah,
you two
me
are
too.
free to say where you're at.
No, I'm not sure where I'm at either till I see those numbers.
The taxable valuation project has to be completed and submitted to the state by the 31st.
Okay.
I'm in the middle of it right now. I can get you those taxable values as soon as we have it done. And I think, so then, you would just take that, however that overall valuation is, or if you see the summary sheet, it has the total amount taxable and whatever levy. So, there's the expense side and then there's the levy side. And if you want to decrease the levies, if you want to use reserve or not, all those factors come into play in that. And with the health insurance discussion this morning, that was good to hear. Well, 10%, I'm not sure if that was good or bad. But,
At least giving us a directive. I
at
guess.
least,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess.
And Jake, on that, whatever that $9.6 million total payroll, that includes public health.
Well, that number, that was just is a general overall number based off of like when we run the total list of salaries for the newspaper.
So it's our pass through is
Yep,
what
and it would be everybody, secondary
Yeah.
road, but I mean, overall salary, and that would include part-time, full-time.
Yeah, so I
But-
need to take a look at that number, sans some of that public health, because we won't have those people this year. Or is that current?
No, that was, I believe, the 2021 listing.
Okay. Anyway,
That's
got
a good
some-
point.
what's that?
That's a good point. We don't
Well,
have that.
Thank you.
We have a decrease, yeah. Do we want to wait then on the budget worksheets? I mean, I'm just asking that question to the board. And
Wait,
We're not giving the direction.
wait on what?
Well,
When are you gonna send them out, Jake?
Well, we can.
Tomorrow?
We can do that process whenever. It just kind of depend on, wanted to see where you wanted to head after today. The worksheets, can go out whenever. It's just a matter of how much time then do you want to give the departments to work on them and get back to get the whole calendar started.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they can go out whenever.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, so again, until I see the numbers and get a chance to sit down with Jake, I can't just pick a number arbitrarily. So I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, the balance part too then is, we don't know what expenses are coming. If somebody
Yep.
has an expense that is a special project or something like that, to know how much total expense there
Yep.
is there compared to the income. So it's that balance of how soon the worksheets should go out, so you can know what those
Right.
expenses are, revenues are. We're mostly well, that's not true. There's a lot of tax driven revenue,
Yeah.
but like Tyler has a lot of outside revenue that he has with.
Yep.
Those types of things. So it's really a kind of a balance in there of this dance.
Yeah.
Of when you need to know your expenses too, alongside, they kind of go hand in hand with
Absolutely.
the taxable valuation.
And understanding that salary and benefits are a big part of the expense load. But I think people can start to think about that from a reasonableness standpoint. We haven't received the comp board minutes yet, but it's been,
Not the
it's been,
official minutes.
but
they're-
it's been in the media. People
Right.
know where they
I
landed.
believe they won't change to the.
And there's
official
going to be
minutes.
there's going to be a discussion about that. So I don't think anybody's going to say that, universally across the board, people are getting an 18% raise. That's not going to happen. So people can be reasonable about how they approach their departments and what they think their departments need. And then as we get some information, Jake, and look at the expenses, because here's what we have to think about. The good thing on health insurance, right? Last year, we were able to buy that down. I'll use that term because we found money in that dental account and we were able to cut that rate increase down to 5. That's as significant though as salaries are. Because if we go to a 10% salary increase, and let's say we land where we did last year at 5, you're still you're in the hole. So from a board standpoint, we've got to think about all of those levers, not just what's that salary percentage going to be? Because otherwise you won't get a raise. Because your health insurance will eat it. So I've got to take a look at some of that like we did last year. Lisa helped me out tremendously with that, and Jake, and see, are there other ways that we can manage that cost for health insurance if we're thinking it's in that 10% range. So,
And that
So-
always gets,
so as they're
Generally-
working on budget worksheets, let's commit to this though, because I think Keisha raises a good point. Let's have a pretty robust discussion on the 28th. Or when is our last meeting of the year? 27. So by then, Steve, have a chance to look at some numbers by then?
I hope so.
Yeah, let's do what we can to really ask Jake the questions we need to ask. And then we can have a better discussion as a board about where we're going. You're not done with your worksheets yet. And at least directionally, you know, kind of where we're at. We don't have to
Mhm.
commit to anything. We don't have to vote on anything. But at least we can have that in full view of everybody. Does
Yeah,
that sound fair?
that sounds fair.
so,
Okay.
do you want worksheets to go out now so then we can see what those
I'm-
expense levels are?
I'm
Is that okay?
fine with that. I'm fine. Get them out now. Have people start working on them. I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Okay, they probably wouldn't be back. They're just people be working on
Sure,
them. Then-
sure. But
then
give people more time than less.
more di-
Absolutely.
More discussion
Yeah,
on the
just,
27th.
just be aware that we don't know what the final numbers are yet.
But that's our job, is to look at those things.
Mhm.
Change it.
Okay?
Okay.
Does that sound?
They'll go out sometime
Nope,
this
nope,
week.
that's fine.
They'll go out sometime this week.
Okay. Thank you, Jake. Very good. Good discussion, though. Very good. I'm glad you raised that. Anything else on that one?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, very good. Entertain a motion to close discussion.
Make motion to close discussion.
Second,
Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
McCombs.
aye.
All right. Some resolutions. We have resolution 2022-87, which is approve support and financial commitment. Oh, this is our vacant building grant. Carla,
It's the
I'm
money
not
you've
used to
already
seeing the whole
spent.
name of it. I just-
Yeah, it's the money you've already spent, but we're applying to the vacant building demolition fund. And as one of the processes for that grant application, we must have a resolution from the Board of Supervisors to approve those funds, which you've, of course, in reality already spent. But I still have to have the document to put in the grant application.
Very good. And you've worked with Ed on that?
He's reviewed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yes.
There's no tremendous legal analysis being done here. It's a resolution. Resolutions say whatever it is you want it to say. This satisfies the requirements of the grant, so we can check a box.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Steve, Keisha, anything on that? I think this is pretty,
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Appreciate
Thank
you working on it, Carla.
yeah. All right, is there a motion on this resolution?
I make motion to approve resolution 2022-87.
Second,
Ramey,
Aye.
McCombs,
aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Carla, thank you. Thank you. Prairie Ridge update. Keisha.
It's pretty short and sweet. Last month I wasn't able to give an update and I wanted to make sure that we had one for, ending out this year. Currently, there is 30 homes finished or under construction to Prairie Ridge. I would like to say that as of 11:30, I did sign 2 new checklists for 2 additional homes on top of this. They have not been started, but I did receive those. Regarding the townhome project, still struggling with being able to get bids under the 300,000 mark. So that's still on hold. But seeing the growth, Destiny Homes has come in and there was 4 homes of these 30 that were put in and they're they're working on them still. So the basements were done and they're doing the top half and things are moving well.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Good. So other than the townhomes, everything else seems to be proceeding.
Yep.
Good, at good
Yep,
pace.
yep,
Okay, that's
yep.
good. Very good. Thanks for the
Yeah,
update.
thank you,
Steve,
Keisha.
any
Thank
questions
you.
for Keisha?
No,
All right, let's close discussion on this item. Is there a motion?
Make motion to close discussion.
second,
McCombs,
aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye, very good. Thank you. Thanks, Joe. All right, we have a Class C retail alcohol license renewal app from New Star. I'm assuming, Jake, we've got everything in we need.
We have everything in we need that runs through the alcoholic beverages division. Then we get notified when it's all ready to go. I don't know if
Yep.
the owner is on or not. He generally isn't. Everything is on. I do think that there is alcoholic beverages has changed up how they title some of their classifications. This is a Class E, is that
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And I believe that they allow that for an automatic renewal now as well. If you guys are willing to do that. So for the Class E, which is this bigger type, instead of going through this annual process, they allow a annual renewal. Of course, the fees have to be paid. And then if there's any issues along the way, that has to be automated and we would be told as well. But I believe that they are also now allowing this annual renewal for Class E as well. So
Okay,
to my knowledge, they've done everything they need to from administrative standpoint.
very good. Jason, are you on and Ed has left the building?
Troy's back there.
Troy. Okay, very good. Board?
Yeah, no, I don't have any objections at all. I just think that, I know this is one that we have talked about before.
It is. Yeah.
So I don't know that I would prefer that the process just be electronic and not come before us. I think
That's a concern. I
Yeah.
agree with you 100% on that. Troy, anything from the sheriff's department on that? I mean, on those automatic renewals?
And
Okay.
yeah,
that
I'm
gives you-
not sure.
That gives you a chance to
Yeah, if it
respond.
goes in front of you, it's better we can talk with you before at the meeting instead of electronic.
Yeah, and this is brand new. So if you see on the bottom of that first page where it says sub permit, and then it says Class C retail alcohol license, I believe, that I believe is what it does allow it to do that. And I don't really know, we haven't, information was just sent out. If the automated part is them having to complete the information or your authorization. I don't know that it means you don't say yes each time. It
Okay,
might mean that they just don't have to go in and physically
it just
create it
generates their
each
app
time. It's,
and then we see it.
Yeah.
and- Okay.
yeah,
so
it was a
maybe-
type LE, according to the information on their website I was looking at. So I
Okay,
think maybe because these are more business professional stores, those types of things, that maybe they just are trying to further automate even more than alcoholic beverages has this renewal process.
okay.
So I
Well,
don't,
even if there's an issue in between whether the renewal, what it can still, the license can still be suspended, correct, Roy?
Okay, so there's some check there. Perfect. All right. Well, if there are no issues, then at least from an approval process standpoint, is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make motion to approve Class E liquor license, alcohol license, sorry.
Second,
Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
McCombs.
aye.
All right, very good. We have a Class C native wine license amendment.
So this is probably going to be me again. Ron Vandelin was just before you recently, Thunder Creek Winery. And these are amendments. So I wasn't exactly sure how to handle these. Actually, we don't get these very often. So we just decided to do them just like a new application. So it's like an amendment to add to living. So the premises that this is operating out of has a privilege of living quarters and an outdoor service. So I think they created a deck on the back or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So the licenses in place, it's these added privileges that is before you today.
Yep, got it. Any questions or discussion? Okay, very good. Is there a motion to approve this amendment?
I make a motion, we approve the amendment.
Second.
Ramey?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
Johnner?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. 22-4, which is a second reading of ordinance 22-3. Am I reading that right?
Oh, that's a typo on my part. I apologize.
That's right. What should it say, Jake?
It should say 4, which it does in the first part.
Yeah. All right. Missy,
So the one thing, obviously we went over these, we had the public hearing at the last meeting. This has been online available since the end of September. And the one thing I didn't add at the last meeting was all these changes prior to going to Iowa codification for reformatting were sent to the county attorney's office for review. Ross Gibson was in charge of that review, and he had no concerns with the proposed changes or additions that were added. I've had no communication with anyone. It was published in the paper for different occasions. I had no communication with anybody since the last meeting with any of the proposed changes. So
questions, board? For Missy?
Pretty straightforward. Thank you, Missy.
All right, this is for the second reading. So is there a motion to approve 2022-4?
I'll make that motion, the second reading, approval of ordinance 2022-4.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye. Very good. Thank you. Missy, thank you. And you're up next with a Board of Adjustment reappointment.
yep. So Dale Miller went in 2020. It was one of those terms that after the governor signed the House file that anybody that lived in the incorporated areas couldn't serve on our boards. We had 2 positions to fill. Dale filled one of those. He's been a great addition to the Board of Adjustments, and I would recommend reappointment.
Okay. Board?
Don't have any problem.
All right. Is there a motion?
Make motion to approve, Dale Miller, Board of Adjustments.
Second.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye. Very good. San Diego.
Looking back, Sandy Egan started with the zoning commission in 2013. She has been through, we're working on our 3rd round of updates, been very instrumental in working with us on the zoning commission, giving recommendations to you as a board, and I would recommend her reappointment.
Is there a motion?
I'll make motion to approve San Diego, the zoning commission.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. And Sarah, is it Treft?
Treff, yes. So Sarah Treff also came to us during the reorganization of zoning and Board of Adjustment boards out in the unincorporated. She also filled an open position that came from Sally Vanderlinden, who lived in the incorporated areas. Sarah learned some great zoning rules during a project that she worked on. So she's been a big help. She has an understanding of how the zoning commission works, how the ordinances work. And so she's been a great addition as well, and I would recommend her reappointment.
All right. Board, is there a motion?
Motion. Go ahead.
I make the motion, we appoint Sarah Treff, zoning commission reappointment.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Very good. Missy,
Thank you.
thank you. And thank you to all these individuals for being willing to serve on this board. Public health update, item number 14. Kim, as I said, has no voice. You have handed on the table an update in writing from Kim. So we will, Jake, enter that into our official record, and board, I would ask that you would read this in your leisure. And if you have questions for Kim, call her when she's got her voice back. All right. All right, Kim, I'm going to spare you. Don't have to type anything. All right. All right.
Get better, Kim.
Would entertain a motion to close discussion.
Make motion to close discussion.
Second.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye. Very good. VA update. Well, I just wanted to provide an update on the VA. As you know, Knoxville has started developing the area around the green box, which it says park. Oh, I don't know which one I'll point at, so I'm not going to point at any of them. There you go. Thank you, Lisa. So they've started laying the infrastructure, the sewer lines for the housing around that area. Very excited to see that that project begin. The 28E group, which is a part of the 28E that the county has with the city, has met, and they've started probably have regular monthly meetings now that work has begun. That group consists of myself, Heather, city administrator, and Kevin Kincaid from Knoxville Hospitals. And will act as much like with the Prairie Ridge group that Keisha sits on as a way to filter these development requests, offer recommendations to our respective boards as to changes, amendments, and the like as the project proceeds. One thing that we are in discussions about, and got Knoxville Raceway here as well to talk a little bit. Nothing to decide on today, but I wanted to make sure the board is aware that we've been having discussions, Jason, with your group about the potential for parking in that red boxed area. Am I close? Is the red close? Yep. All right. When we get to nationals, race events, those things, until such time as we get some development moving in that space. So you can see it's a little better picture there. This is the area in discussion right now between us and the race board and the city of Knoxville. We haven't really reached any conclusions yet. Knoxville, and the Fair Board and the Raceway have been doing some research. As you know, the railroad tracks are there. And there's been a desire, I think, to have some right of way over those tracks. But in order to do that, the Fair Board racetrack must own land on both sides of the racetrack. I don't know what that amount is. You guys were going to do some research on that. Have you found out anything? Yeah, he said no minimal amount to have that owned property on both sides. Okay, so there was no specific amount. So as we go through and talk about this with those three entities, one of the things that will probably be coming to the board in the near future is the potential to either lease or sell a portion of this area. And I wish somebody from Knoxville was here. The county, this is all the city portion, right?
Yeah.
Except for the dotted line.
What they have outlined there is not the VA property.
So if you can see this area right here, the solid area, I think this is all the city.
That's the city ground,
That's all
yes.
the city.
Yep.
This is part of getting to the VA and up here. So this purple area is really what I'm talking about. That we could have some potential lease parking or selling some portion of this, or if it gets to the city self. I don't know that we've defined that yet.
Yeah.
So just to know that that discussion is ongoing right now. There's no definition to it. We don't have any dollar amounts yet. We haven't worked on appraisals or anything like that. The city of Knoxville did an appraisal. Flip back to the bigger map. City of Knoxville did an appraisal in this area, so we have some idea of the land value based on that appraisal. Whether that would apply to this area, don't know yet. We'll have to work through that. And then what does the raceway need? What would we be willing to do to accommodate that? All of those things. I just wanted to make the board aware that those discussions are right now in play. And we may have a formal proposal here. What do you think? Maybe next couple of weeks?
Yeah, good. The city part, we're working on a lease agreement with them, and I think that goes to city council on the 19th.
Yeah.
And then we just wanted to add on to that area there. Just we could do parking there at the big events, and just trying to get it going now so I can get some kind of temporary lighting or something, so we can have the area lit up and figure out a plan of how we're going to go in and out to that facility or that parking area and have it lined out. So,
I know we had this discussion when this whole thing started about crossing them railroad track. And I told that, I can't remember who I told. That he needed to get a hold of the railroad. And apparently you guys have got a hold
Yep,
of the railroad.
yeah, we've got a contact with a guy, he's out of Kansas, I think, but he's the one that's in charge of this area. And everything we've talked to him about, that's what he said. I mean, we can do something.
I'm surprised that you gotta talk to the same guy twice.
Well, we when we first started, that guy's moved on to another job, but he did give us the new guy, and he did even contact us, so I was surprised.
Have they given you any perspective on how that crossing is to be manned or manipulated?
Somewhat, yes. I mean, most of it's just through initial talks, but we marked it as it would be a private crossing. So, on non-race nights, it would be
Well,
gate.
I'm just throwing it out there
Yep.
because I know
Yep.
I know those
Yep.
are gonna be big issues.
Right, yeah, and
Okay.
then we've even talked about having one of our own security people be there the whole time during events when it's open, but other than that time closed off, so.
Okay.
And I think the intent of the parking is really for your workers, correct? Workers, staff.
Well, there'll be work, but
volunteers.
there'll be some public parking too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have used a portion of that soccer field where on the city property the last couple of years for employee parking. And that's what we're working with the city to be able, we just used along the one south fence there, or now we're gonna use that whole area. And if we could add the area of the county ground there to it
Okay.
also, just to make a big parking area there just for people to use. And like, even if we did it this year, we would probably there's a gate down in that corner along Highway 14 where they just go out there into the sidewalk there. There wouldn't be a railroad crossing in 2023.
And the focus is toward the big events, correct?
Right, yeah, 10 days of the Knoxville National is probably I'd like to say we have more time.
I get it.
More spots.
I understand.
Yeah, yep.
So for us as a board, again, anyway, once Knoxville, our last meeting, we will probably have, or at least I'll have something formal to present to the board for at a minimum that dotted area. Probably if Knoxville's going a lease route, I'll probably go a lease route as well. And then Jason, once you know what you need for acquisition, if it's, I don't know, 10 feet, 20 feet, I don't know what you need, then we can have that discussion too and have that presented to the board on where you want that. You may want that in the purple where the city is. I don't know.
Yeah, we just can't do that right now because the city's under some federal.
Oh, that's right. They've got
They-
their federal agreement.
They've got a federal grant for that in the 70s something, so they've got to keep that a park until they make a equivalent area the same size,
Yeah,
so they
that's
can't
right.
get rid of it. So that's why we're just doing a long-term lease on that ground as right now.
Right, okay. So anyway, by the 28th, we'll have something formal for our board to consider.
Do you
along
have,
those
do you,
lines.
Jason, do you have a site specified for a crossing or?
We've talked about, be basically just, right beside that purple area that goes between the laundry and the city ground right there, we've got a road that comes like in between some of our barns that would kind of line up right through there. So that's kind of where we would be.
Basically where we're going through now?
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
where that
Yeah.
walk-in gate was before.
Okay.
Yep.
Steve, you see any issues with that?
Pardon me?
You see any issues with that? Other than the dealing with the railroad?
Well, other than dealing with the railroad, that's the only issue I see, but, and somehow manning that crossing.
Right, yeah, and even,
And maybe clearing some brush.
right, if we get to the point where we have some ground too, I'd even like to get with the road and see is there a way we can just do a pedestrian crossing over. So we're not even having traffic cross the road track. We're just going up. People are walking up and over and going through. If we ever get to that point where I know I've got some ground, we can do something with it. I would like to then,
Right.
I may
Right.
have to go to Kansas to have that conversation, but to where we're not even, because if we're not even crossing the railroad tracks, that's perfectly fine with me. If we can just get them to walk over, a pedestrian bridge over or something too, so.
Very good, appreciate it. Any other comments or questions?
I would just say, just the liability, I'm sure that when, if we were doing a lease agreement, how that would fall. So something I would want Ed's opinion on.
Very good. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
All right, no more discussions. We'll have a motion to close liability.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. How about closed discussion?
Make motion to close discussion.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Updates. Steve.
I have a landfill meeting tomorrow and a HERDA meeting Friday.
All right, Keisha.
Don't really have any updates other than, personally for me for meetings, but I wanted to let you guys know, I didn't know if you were aware that Denny Carpenter, longtime board of supervisor from Jasper County, has passed away this weekend.
Heard that. Yeah.
So
And yeah,
condolences to his family.
absolutely. Denny Amos retiring in Monroe. Yeah. So there are changes. Absolutely. Thank you. Nothing from me. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Very good. We are adjourned. Thank you.